Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're glad to be here with you, all you MOSHAPers. Presenting, my name is Michelle Grenier from the University of New Hampshire, and I'm happy to be presenting this session with Chris Benson from East Kingston School in New Hampshire. The title of the session is Access, Equity, and Diversity, Universal Design Principles to Support Student Learning. And again, I want to shout out to my good friend Tom Lowry for inviting me to participate, and all of you Mo Shapers. I'm very, very impressed with what you've done during this time, how you've supported each other, and have really worked together to make learning accessible for all these students. So thanks again for inviting us. We're going to tell you a little bit about who we are, all right? Again, I'm from the University of New Hampshire. I'm a faculty person, but I did start as a teacher, and my roots are in teaching. And what I learn from teachers, such as Chris and other teachers in the area, and the faculty members that I work with. And what we're interested in, and I've always been interested in, is making learning accessible to all students. And when you think about universal design for learning, typically, we tend to associate that with students with disabilities, but for me, particularly during this time where teachers are teaching remotely, synchronously, asynchronously, or face to face, these universal design principles really work well in order for us to think about how we're teaching, what we're teaching, and how we're engaging their students. So again, I thank you, teachers, for all your hard work during this time. Chris.
Yep, my name is Chris Benson. As Michelle said, I teach at East Kingston Elementary School. I've been there for 18 years. Oh, yep, 18 years now. I'm working on my 19th year. I originally started teaching in Chester, Vermont. When I got out of college, I was 9 years there. So you can do the math, how long I've been teaching. It's a K through 5 school in rural New Hampshire. We're almost on the Massachusetts border in New Hampshire, so that's where you can find us.
And Chris, you're in timeout, I think, in this picture. Is that right?
And you can normally find me in timeout. This was in Italy, and my wife and daughter put me in timeout when we were on top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Thanks, Chris. I want to give a shout out to Chris because he really has taught me a lot about universal design for learning. When I see what he does and how he teaches, he is really a whiz with technology as well as teaching face to face, because all of this only came about in the last few months. So I'm very fortunate and grateful to be working with such a talented teacher. And when we look at what we're dealing with right now, and I know there's a lot of frustration, there's good stuff and there's things that are really challenging. And we've made a lot of progress since last spring. Last spring, it was just survival when this all happened. And then we sort of got a little grasp on what we needed to do, and we kept practicing. And Chris, you can just keep clicking that if you
Oh,
want. Yep, can just keep going down there. So, it has been a challenge for many of us. We keep learning, we keep trying. We're all first year teachers. The silver lining, I think, is the collaboration that has occurred. And for me, it's been a lot easier to reach across and see what teachers are doing and for them to be able to share their teaching. Here in New Hampshire, we say there's no more snow days at the university. There'll be no more snow days because we have learned to use technology. I know when I had to learn to teach, if you have if you have to do it, then you learn it. And I think that's really what we've had to do. And this practice, 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 and communicating with your students and creating a sense of community is really, really very important, because we have many students who are isolated, who are remote. We have it's a really challenging time. So I think as educators, we focused on both teaching the students the skills, but also creating a community, making the students feel welcome. And that, again, I applaud all your efforts as teachers and what you're doing. And
yeah,
finally, go ahead,
just to
sorry.
chime in on that, Michelle, when you first said when we first started doing this back in March, um, in my school, anyways, our teachers basically pulled in their kids and said, we'll take them. And our parents were stressed out. It's like, we can't have any more emails. And so our UA teachers, our unified arts, our art, music, PE kind of got pushed to the side. We were in the shadows and in the background. And what we learned from that is they needed us too, and they wanted to see us too as far as teachers. So as we came back into it this fall, our schedule was really changed, and our UA teachers actually got placed in the schedule this time, where before in March, it's just like, here's what we're doing, find time to find the students. And we found that that didn't work either. So, and I think with us, as far as UA teachers, having us in there, it helped with that, create that sense of community that Michelle's talking about. Excuse me.
Thanks. And we're all in this together, and we're all beginning teachers. And it's, what worked before doesn't always work, but we learn and stay optimistic. Thank you, Chris, for that. So let's talk a little bit about universal design for learning. Again, I just wanted a little bit of history. For me, physical education has always been about access and inclusion and making all students feel welcome. And I work with pre-service teachers. And sometimes, the kids who are different, the kids who don't move quite the same way have been a challenge. But I think what universal design for learning, it gives us tools in a way, a framework to thinking about how to be inclusive. And during this time, inclusive means everyone. It means socioeconomic status for those students who don't have access to technology, or don't have a computer or really internet. For those students whose parents are working, for those students who are just not engaged. Again, what we're trying to do with universal design is to remove the barriers. And what you'll see in this video is a little bit of a primer on UDL. And pay attention, what we're really trying to reinforce here are the three principles of engagement, which you do, representation, which you do, and action and expression, which you do. So I'm trying to sort of familiarize what UDL is for you as practitioners, so you all know, yep, I do UDL. All right, so let's just watch this video. It's about 4 minutes long.
Universal Design for Learning in Physical Education. So what is universal design for learning? Every student learns and is motivated by different things, depending on their background, experience, successes, and interests. Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, supports the various ways that students receive, process, and express information. For example, a teacher may have second graders chase bubbles for a warm-up with music. Some students may find this challenging and fun. Others may find it dull and boring with no challenge. Yet some may be terrified of the noise, crowd, and running into people. This is where UDL comes in. Universal Design for Learning directs the creation of the learning experiences to proactively meet the needs of all students. The three main components of UDL. Multiple means of representation is the what of learning, how the information is given to students. Giving information to students is just the first part. Showing the material in many different ways ensures that all students will be able to make sense of the content. For example, you can use students for demonstration, show a video of the skill or sport practice, or demonstrate the skill or activity yourself with the students verbally following along. Multiple means of engagement is the why of learning. The first thing to consider in this area is reducing students' discomfort and distraction and urging each student to take risks without being forced out of their comfort zone. Utilizing strategies to get students excited about learning, to help them sustain interest in learning tasks, and to know and regulate themselves. Multiple means of action and expression is the how of learning. How can you assess what the students know? How physical action can be incorporated? How levels of support can be added? How knowledge and skills can be expressed? In this area, give options for students to express what they know and can do. For example, when assessing how fast students can move from point A to B, you can allow them to choose the distance and the way they want to move, who they want to move with, the music that is playing, and the goals that they set. Help students set goals, manage information, and teach students how to monitor their progress toward learning goals. Unique and important features of UDL. Universal design starts in the lesson planning phase. It's not something that is added after the lesson is created. The variations are embedded into the lessons from the start. The universally designed options are for every student, not just students with disabilities or those on 504 plans. For example, when teaching striking, give students choice for equipment or how to strike. Have high expectations for all students. Generalization of UDL. It is important for students to learn the curriculum using the UDL approach. It is important to remember that the students should also learn the traditional equipment and rules for each sport and activity. By learning the traditional equipment and rules, the students know what they need to advocate for when they are involved in community programming. To review, there are three main components of UDL: multiple means of representation, the what of learning; multiple means of engagement, the why of learning; multiple means of action and expression, the how of learning. UDL starts in the lesson planning phase, has high expectations for all students, and asks all students to learn traditional equipment and rules as well as the UDL approach. So now you know the basics of UDL. Try it out yourself.
Thanks, Chris. And you are all doing UDL right now during these times. And you're going to see with Chris some of the really creative, unique scenarios and situations that he's created so his students do access. He reduces barriers through engagement, and he creates lots of options for action and expression. So these are things that you're all doing. And again, just to reinforce those principles: engagement, what's the hook? How are you setting the stage for learning? And you'll see that with Mr. B's, 3 B's. Representation. Sometimes teachers do videos of themselves because they want to connect with the kids. Sometimes they find videos online or other means, whether it's a task card. So it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to present the information. And action and expression has really evolved, I think, particularly during these times, because typically we had equipment available to us and we had this sort of stage set in our classrooms and in our gymnasiums to assess. But because of the changing scenarios and students at home, not the same equipment, not the same prompts, we've learned to expand actually what we expect of our students, not to lower it, but to expand on what it is given their circumstances. So again, those 3 principles. And again, when we look at UDL, it's about reducing barriers. And that means finding ways for students to access the information and both to present the information in ways that can work for them. What kind of support do you need? Optimize levels of support. For some students, they may need parents, they may need siblings to help them out depending on their level of ability. But really what you want to do is consider all of those potentials and where that student is. And finally, collaboration. What are we learning from our peers? What are we learning from the people around them? And as you'll see in Chris's videos, he's working with some of the parents, and oftentimes working with the parents to make that happen. And in the second box there, access, build, and internalize. This internalized piece I just want to highlight, because if we're looking at the physically literate child, the physically literate individual, hopefully what we're doing through all of these is having our students gain independence. And again, irrespective of ability, we're doing that for all of our students, having them access and build the sort of skills and then internalize that so they can take that for the rest of their lives. So really, when we look at applying UDL, this is where my partnership with Chris really comes into play. And he'll tell you, I'm just going to turn it over to him, but what I want you to reinforce and consider are those 3 pieces of engagement. And look when he's presenting and think about that, and think about it for yourselves as you're reviewing this videotape. How do I do that? A representation, which is really the teaching and instruction. How do I do that? How does Chris do that? And action and expression. Sometimes people use the word assessment, but I think expression, because some of our students particularly when we're watching them remotely, are expressing themselves in very different ways. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Chris and just hang on to your seats a bit because he's going to take us through a few things right now.
Okay, so what we want to try and do is give you an experience of what it would be like if for you to be in a remote classroom with me. Um, like I said in the beginning, when we first went into this form of teaching, the UAs were kind of left out. And so we really didn't get to this until this fall. And what was nice is we had plenty of time to plan for it. And I just was doing my thing. And then I presented this to Michelle's class and she says, "You're doing UDL." I'm like, "I am." So apparently I'm doing UDL and I don't even know it. And I just put a piece together that I do have the what, why, how. I think that's where Michelle's saying, "You're doing UDL." So this is what you would see as you come into my Zoom class. I'd let the kids in, I'd give them 5 minutes. They can open their microphones, they can talk to each other, they can talk to me. "Mr. B, what is it that we need?" That's usually what I get from my kindergartners because they're not readers yet. So the big arrow is pointing to my clipboard and it says, "You will need for class today a small stuffed animal and a laundry basket." And they always come in, "What do we need that for?" I'm like, "We'll let you know." Patience. So we'll run the timer down and it just gives them time to focus in, maybe even just relax for a minute and not have to think about something or think about the technology or what's going on. I usually teach in front of a green screen. I don't have it at home. And I'll usually project out my gym or out in our field, a place where the kids know, just to try and give them a sense of that community involvement. And it's like, "Oh, Mr. B's actually in the gym. This is so cool." And I'll get that question like, "Mr. B, are you really in the gym?" Or it's like, "Are you really outside today?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a lovely day where I am." And they look out the window. It's like, "Dude, it's raining here." So, no. And then I tell them I'm on the green screen. And the banner that you see there is my 3 classroom rules: be safe, be respectful, be responsible. And I kind of carried that over to our online learning, and I'll show you that in just a minute.
And Chris, you just wanted to, Chris started face-to-face today, correct? So you're
Correct.
teaching in multiple modalities.
Yes, forgot about that. So we made the transition today into face-to-face or face-to-mask, and it went really well. It was a long day. But we also have a cohort of K-2 and 3-5 that stayed remote. So I see them twice a week via Zoom. I see my other kids in person twice a week, 45 minutes. On the Zoom class, I try and cut them loose a little bit sooner. So they do, what's that called again, Michelle, when they're working offline?
Asynchronous.
Asynchronous. And when they're with me, it's called?
Synchronous.
Okay, online, offline for me.
Yeah, remote. Yeah, right. We get a lot of terms we got to keep track of.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started there, Michelle. So as the timer's running out, and I found a whole bunch of different timers on YouTube, and you can see it's just, I'm not going to play the 5-minute timer for you. I'll give you a quick snippet. This one's kind of fun. So. And that's good enough for that. Okay. After that, I asked them to turn their mics off. That's what the icon is. And we use this icon across the board at school. So the kids know if the teacher puts that icon up, they want microphones off at that time. And this greeting time thing is, I've always done this from the time I started teaching with Responsive Classroom. And what was nice, it was a time that I could just focus in on the kid, basically find them on my big screen TV with all these multiple Zooms going on. And so I know where they are. And so I'll say, "Good evening, Michelle. How are you today?" And Michelle would unmute and she would go,
"Very good, Mr. B. Thank you."
And so just touching base with them just quickly, and I'd go through the whole Zoom. Meanwhile, I'm taking attendance. So that's one way that I was able to keep track of attendance of who's in my Zoom and who's not, and so forth and so on. And before we started all this, I kind of came up, actually, I stole this from somebody, but I came up with my own things. I saw that where someone did the 3 Bs for physical education, or I think they did 3 Bs as well. But in my classroom, I had 3 Bs already, which is be safe, be respectful, be responsible. And I just changed one from be safe to be ready. And for online learning, the expectation is your device is charged and ready to go, or if it's not, it's plugged in so it doesn't crash on you. Have the equipment that's needed nearby. So you have that 5 minutes in the beginning of class to get that equipment. Yeah, we want you dressed and ready for PE. Some kids were still in their PJs. I'm like, next time, can you, what was great, I didn't have a single kid in bed. Where last year we saw kids in beds, under blankets. So one, I think the expectation was there that we want you, it's a school day, we want you ready for school. And I think that helped out tremendously. Okay. And then just be respectful, speak kindly to everybody, recognize how your actions impact others around you. Like we're doing PE right now, but your brother could be in math class right now, or your sister could be in English right now, and mom and dad could be on a Zoom as well. So just be aware of what's going on around you. So you can't be super loud, can't be, all that stuff. And as Michelle said before, online learning is new for all of us. And our saying this year is better together. So that's why I put the hashtag in, better together, for that one. Last three, just real quick, be responsible, find a safe space to exercise and practice your skills. So I don't want to see anything broken because I don't want to get in trouble with my mom and dad, okay? Move under control and carefully so you don't break anything. We just said that. So if I see that picture frame still up on the wall, we're good. And then complete and turn in all your work. Yeah, we asked them to do some work. My 3 through 5s, they were doing their assessments and some reflection back to me through Google Classroom. And my K2s were using Seesaw. And that's how we took care of that piece as far as completing tasks. So. Now we'll get into, sorry, I got a little excited there. After we do our greeting, just a quick review of our expectations. We do a little fitness program, a little fitness activity just to get us up and moving. And this is from P.E. Bowman, I always say his name wrong, Bowman. This gentleman was a graphic arts major and a PE major, and he took his skills over quarantine and his 3 children, and he put them in front of his green screen, and he did his magic. And I'm not one that will create videos for my kids. I don't like hearing myself talk in the video. I'm glad I don't have to review this video when we get done. But I found people that enjoy doing it, and God bless you, those people that enjoy doing it, because you make me feel a little bit more comfortable presenting in front of my kids. So this is really cool. It's a little fitness workout. So if you want to get up and get moving, we'll play the first level together if you'd like. I'll stand up and I'll do the best I can. I usually have my earbuds, but I don't today. So I'll do my best. Here we go. We can actually do it in the chair.
I like that.
Yeah. So here we go. Ninja now. This is his daughter coming in first.
Welcome to our Ninja Now workout. The virus has been spotted in the desert. Ninja, we need you to run through the desert and kick the virus. Grab and eat the healthy foods for strength. Ninja, I'm going to beam you in the desert. Stand by.
Best karate pose.
Follow the ninja.
There he is.
Begin.
Use my hands.
So there you
My
go.
earbud out on that one.
Yeah, my earbuds usually go flying too. But what's great is when I'm doing my online teaching, like I said, I have large screen display, and I'll move my Zoom over to that display, and I can see all my kids, just their facial expressions, and they're working out, and all that fun stuff. So
And I
that
use
goes
my hands. So rather than using your feet, so really, the idea is
right,
engagement. If students have limited mobility in their body, just use your hands, whatever you need to do, your head, anything. So it
right.
can be applied across the board.
We had students in community care centers. So for parents that had to go to work, it was kind of like a daycare facility set up for them, and we call them community care centers. So sometimes they didn't have a stuffed animal or a laundry basket there, or they were sitting in a chair and they really couldn't do the running around because there were other people around them. So I just said, do your best in your chair and be flexible, and I'm totally understanding that they don't want to be doing phys ed and having kids watch them. And so just totally understood that. But then we had the kids at home that were, getting into it and tearing apart their room, which was fantastic. And then we go into, I usually put our what, why, house cards up for this. We're going to go through it, but we're going to work on the underhand throwing today. And so we would break it down into what are we doing today? Working on the underhand throw. Why are we doing it? Well, because we want to be successful in some of our skills. And how will I know I learned it? Well, you can do it in these 3 levels, or in this area. Okay. And then we talk about our keys to success, or our 5 Qs. And yes, this is stolen again, borrowed, stolen, you decide. This is from the physicaleducator.com. Joey Fife made this one. I love the graphics on it, and the student throwing underhand, which is just perfect for me.
I'm just gonna just interrupt here, Chris, because when we did this, when we first started talking, I think again last spring, was like, just get kids involved. And what you had mentioned to me and to my students in the class is really, we're getting back on track. We're trying, you're prioritizing certain skills, locomotor skills and manipulative skills. And that's really a big part of your teaching. So we've moved beyond just getting kids out there to now, okay, let's see if we can bring them back up, because we did lose some time with that.
Yeah. And that was my major concern, is that, okay, we're online. How can I teach skills? There's got to be a way I can teach skills. And I finally figured it out, and then they changed it on us, and then we're back in person. So, but I still have that remote piece that I still have to figure out how to do skills. So I would talk to them real quick about the 5 Qs that we're working on. For my kindergartners, I'll be hammering a step with that opposite foot. And we talked about underfoot, opposite foot. And I know my kindergartners don't get it. So I call them my co-teachers. My co-teachers are my parents. And I know they're listening, because we'll see the thumbs up come in from other side, or they'll stick their head in. Yeah, we got it, Mr. B. We'll figure it out. And so when we're doing the activities, I really like to see the kids in the full frame, so I can say, "Oh, Maggie, great job stepping with that opposite foot. Co-teacher mom, we need Maggie to make sure that she steps with the opposite foot," or something like that. I try not to call kids out on the Zooms, because you know what's going to happen. Everyone's going to stop and look at that kid. What is he doing? So I usually call him the co-teacher to help with that. So the first activity we did with our laundry basket, this is how we're going to get set up. Let's put our laundry basket 5 steps away on the ground. Take your stuffed animal, and that's where we're going to start. So we're going to do straight on, and we'll work on that underhand toss. And we'll time you for a minute. Now remember, find a safe space. I don't want anything broken. Okay. And I have a timer up here in the corner. We'll practice that for a minute. And each time you take a step, each time you make it in the basket, we'll take a step backwards. And remember, be aware of what's around you. Be safe, be respectful, be responsible. If you only have so much room in your room, well, that's as far as you can go today. That's okay. All right. And so we do that for a minute, and I'd be doing it as well with the kids. And I'd be taking a peek on my Zoom and watching, and they try their best to stay in the frame. Normally I get a picture of the laundry basket, and you can see it going into the laundry basket. And I'll ask, "Hey, Quinn, can you move it back a little bit so I can see what you're doing?" "Oh yeah, sure, Mr. B." And then they'll read. They got very good at being filmographers or taking video. And so then after our practice, we did several different slides. I had them change direction, move different, throw from different angles and stuff like that. I put this assessment up on Seesaw. So we took our laundry basket and we put it on the couch, and I kind of wanted them to throw over the coffee table, so they'd stand by the chair and throw over to the laundry basket. And I asked mom and dad, or our co-teachers, to film them. and they put their video here. Now I only wanted 30 seconds, right? I also asked my co-teachers, no more coaching. So I just want to see what they got. So after our practice together, that would be synchronous, right, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, this would be their asynchronous work. And like I said, I see my kids for 45 minutes. So I try and cut it for the last 15 minutes that they would have this work to do. So they put that first video here, and parents were fantastic. Siblings were fantastic. They did the videos for me right on Seesaw, and they put it right in, and it's just 30 seconds. I see maybe 3 or 4 tosses, which is perfect. And then our next challenges was, how far up the stairs can you get? So they would practice getting up the stairs, and they'd show me how far was the furthest place they made up the stairs. Again, looking at their form, that's all I'm looking at. I don't care how high they went up, but I do care that they got their form. So I had some great shots, like parents were standing on the top of the stairs, so I saw everything. So I saw if they made it in the target or not, and I could also see their throwing form. And finally, the last one was, how far can you throw? So hopefully they could get outside and do this one. If they couldn't, I had parents or kids in a long hallway, or maybe just in the room, and that's as far as they could throw. I was really flexible about it. I got some messages, we can't go outside, it's raining. It's like, yeah, I know, find the best spot that you can. It's okay. You know, doesn't have to be done today. I told you, it got to be done by Friday. Oh, okay. And so that was one other thing. I tried to not stress out my parents of having to get this done during that 15-minute block time. Maybe it's just practice time during that 15-minute block time, and you guys record at your leisure. But I did have a due date of I wanted it done by our next class. So, and then put the video here. Back, and that's a day in
We don't
life.
have the videos, do we? You don't have the
I
videos.
didn't put any videos in for them. No.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sharing my kids. I didn't want to go
there. I know. So just describe some of those videos and what you see in them. Just go back a slide too, Chris, because
Sure.
I think it's really pretty interesting what you did.
So I saw a lot of good throwing. And it was funny in the different levels. Most of the time, like if it's close, you didn't see stepping with the opposite foot. But when they got to a little greater distance, you could see that they started to step with that opposite foot, that they needed to have that power in that throw. And especially with the last one, the level 3 one, when they were outside or in their long hallway, they were definitely stepping, which was great to see. So we brought it back, and I showed a couple of them to the whole class. And it's like, what do you see here? What's going on? Well, they're not stepping. Well, they're close. Do they need to? Oh, no, good point. How about let's go to this one when they're far away. Now they're stepping. Why do you think they need to step? Because we needed more power. Exactly. So that was a nice thing to tie in. And then all the kids were like, can you show mine? Can you show mine? Can you show mine? So
Great.
it was a
Excellent.
great learning experience for them. They could see how other friends are throwing. And before I would show it, I was asking, Michelle, is it okay for me to show your videos? And I'd get the thumbs up, And I don't think I had any kids say, no, I don't. No, you can't show me mine. So that I was really impressed with.
Yeah.
That we didn't have a kid that said, no, don't show mine. So
And I think the challenge of getting assessment always seems to be a challenge, particularly in remote, but you've had good participation both from students and families. And when I did see the videos, it seemed to me that parents, the nice thing about that, or the interesting thing about home learning, is that parents are learning PE isn't a secret anymore.
Yeah.
It's much more out there, and parents are seeing what teachers do, what their kids are learning. So that piece, just watching the kids practice something and skill, was really pretty cool. So let's just bring it all back home. What we have is universal design for learning. And when we talk about access and equity, now you know that as teachers, you're all doing UDL. And when we're thinking about teaching, we're not just thinking about our students with disabilities. We're thinking about the kids whose home environments might be a little bit challenging, who don't have access to technology, and probably more so than anything, the kids that are isolated and not feeling a part of a school or a community. So we're reducing barriers with that. As a teacher educator, what's been interesting to me is that my students need to learn the content. So Chris showed us the content of underhand throwing. He showed us content of warming up, and he's got his his classroom rules and his guidelines. And again, those are all the things that we knew sort of pre-COVID. We had our classroom environment established, but in order to move to the knowledge of technology and knowledge across multiple domains is how are we going to expand our teaching? And I think COVID has really taught us that. Again, technology is one tool. I'm sure that other teachers have found other ways, but as educators, I think we've been increasingly needing to think about, being flexible, being supportive of our students, and allowing them to demonstrate what they know. So what we're going to do with the last few minutes, and I really appreciate everybody, and I appreciate what Chris has done, because every time I watch what he does, I'm like, that is really cool. That is really cool. And I'm just in awe of the sort of skills that we have as educators, and what we are doing, and how we should value, I mean, the society should value really the job that educators have done. But I want to ask, some of you might be thinking, okay, I can't do that, or, where do I start, or what are some of the tools? And some of you may go, oh, I've got this already. I could be doing this presentation right now. So Chris, if you were to sort of speak to, as a person who has years of experience, also pretty skilled with technology, but also knowing how to teach, is there sort of some beginning steps, or some guidelines that you would use or recommend to the participants who are listening to this?
Oh, absolutely. One is definitely don't fear the technology, and I think with all this thing that's going on, I think we've cleared that hurdle. At least I know a lot of my teachers. When we first said we were going remote, I had a lot of teachers just email me, "How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? What do I do? What do I do?" We didn't have really any time to plan. We just got thrown out on Friday the 13th, and then we were going remote the next Monday. So we had a weekend to figure this out. And some of my teachers were comfortable with Google Classroom. Some of my teachers were comfortable with Seesaw. So they kept those Swiss Army knives in their back pockets, and they used them during the Zoom lessons. But they felt that they had to be on the Zoom with them from 8:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's not possible. And a lot of the parents don't want their kids on the screen that long, and you can't be on the screen that long. And then the other thing is where they're like, Chris, how do you know all this? Well, yeah, you Google it, right? Or you go to your resources, you go to your online resources, like you watch your Twitter feed, you watch your Facebook feed, and you start following the people that are experiencing this already. I know one of the great helps for me was when we were starting to do remote teaching. I had Ben Perillo down in Texas, and Mike, I'm gonna forget his name, anyways, out in Indiana, who were basically 2 weeks ahead of me. So as they've already experienced something, I could get in touch with them and say, hey, this is what I see coming down the pike. How did you handle it? And they said, oh, well, Chris, we did this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, this would work for me, this wouldn't. So I would take what they experienced and try not to step in that same pothole that they did. And that was just a great big help. So reaching out and getting in touch with people that have already done this is such a big deal, or are going through it with you right now. Don't lock yourself away. Just keep everything open, keep your ears and eyes open. And if you don't know, Google it, and you'll probably find the answer. Where'd you find all these videos? Well, just keep my eyes out on Twitter, and I follow Bowman, and I follow the physical educator, and I follow Mike Graham, and I follow Ben Perillo. So whenever they post something up, like, oh yes, so beg, borrow, and steal. We've been doing that for years. Why stop now, right? We go to conferences, people present these awesome games. I'm taking that, right? Same thing here.
Thank you, Chris. real professional development. And his email will be on the slide. So if you need some information or tech support, or how did you do that, or where are those, feel free to email Chris. And I hope you don't mind that I just gave your email away, Chris, but that's okay.
Okay.
Let's go to the next slide. And this is a little bit, it's not so legible, but there's Quizlet, puzzle, there's some our teachers here put together a Seacoast YouTube that's a number of different YouTubes. So we collected these with direct links, and you can sort of peruse them freely. NICPAD is on there, and NICPAD is where we got the UDL video. So if you're looking to look for your own professional development, or your administrator and saying, yes, I am doing UDL, that's on that as well. And let's go to this last slide here, Chris. I'm wondering if we may or may not be able to do it, whether you can click on to CDHP org. This was recommended by a local teacher. We have just the first one up there. I don't know if the link is embedded in there.
It is, but I'm only sharing the PowerPoint. So if I think I click on it, we'll lose
okay,
the video part of this. So
I'll do my best to explain this. I don't know
okay.
if you've seen it, but another teacher said this was a game changer, a CDHPE, and I did look through it. So what it has are GIFs, am I saying that correctly? Yes. It has little videos, it has templates, it has timers that Chris had demonstrated. So it's really not, it's a one site that has a lot of different resources in that. And again, hopefully that will be of help for you. We're all sharing information. We're all sharing good information. Universal Design for Learning is a text that Lauren Lieberman, myself, Allie Bryan, and Katrina Arndt just published last spring. And again, this is sort of pre-COVID, but I think now as we've entered through this phase of COVID and multiple teaching modalities, I keep thinking this is a perfect way for teachers to give themselves a break, know that they are doing all of these things in many different ways. So making learning accessible, again, UDL, you're doing it. It's not an unfamiliar concept to you anymore. You're doing it. And NICPAD is where that video came from, and CAST, again, are all the UDL guidelines right there. So we'll again send these slides, so you'll have these. And before we close out, I just want to thank all of you. And I want to continue to thank you for your work. Again, I know that it is a difficult time. Chris can attest to that. He said today when we got on, a couple of hours ago, he's like, I'm tired. First face-to-face teaching after getting the outside space set up, we're having a little bit of springtime here. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all that you're doing. And Chris, I know you probably have something to say to the teachers as well.
Yeah, to hang in there. Keep doing what you're doing. We're all in this for the kids. We know that. You're doing good. So keep it up.
Round of applause. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate what you've done and what you're offering everybody else. So hopefully you got a few things out of this presentation just to make you think a little bit differently and/or resources. But again, good luck with the rest of the year. We're going day by day because we're not really sure how things are going to change. So again, thank you all. Keep up the good work, MOSHAPE, and we appreciate everything that you've done.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.